Hey guys, I am here at the workshop and I wanted to do a quick little tutorial for all of you that are buying kits and doing the vinyl signs at home. And I wanted to do a basic tutorial so that you can reference this anytime. So if you don't get it the first time and you want to check back and do it again, if you buy another kit or if you have a question aside from the written directions, this would be a great thing to go back to. So we're going to do a quick tutorial of your vinyl stencil, and then you guys can start working on your kits. And if you have any questions, you can always send them my way. So I'm going to set this up real quick so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm starting to make some of my favorite images that we have available for kits. So before I went live, I went ahead and I painted my board. I just did white paint and I painted with the grain. And I did 2 coats of this and I let it dry really well. So if there's any advice I can offer you on being successful with vinyl is to make sure that your coats are dry before you move on. So if you're working with little ones, you know, they can use the hair dryer to dry them on the cool setting, but be a great time to do a step, go watch a cartoon or have a snack, and then come back to it a little bit later, and that kind of stretches out the activity as well, and that gives your board time to dry. Okay, so this is very dry. So I'm going to show you a little bit about your stencil. This is how you're going to get your stencils in your kits. We're going to pre-weed all of that for you and apply the transfer paper to the top of it. So all you'll have to do is peel the back and put it on your stencil, or put it on your wood. So the one thing you need to do before you peel the back off is to take something with a sharp edge like a credit card. I like to use paint trays. And we're just going to give it a rub. This one has a lot of small pieces, so doing this little rub will help those stay on the plastic. And you're going to flip it over face side down. This is where a lot of people make a mistake. They try to pull the back off by holding it up in the air. You don't want to do that. You want to lay it flat on the table, okay? And you're going to start at one corner. Hold it down with one hand, and then you're going to slowly peel your backing back with the other. And the reason you're going to do it flat is so that if any of the little pieces want to come up, you can push them back down with your finger right as you're going along. That way you don't lose any of the little in-betweens on your letters or the detail. So I have a little spot right there that's wanting to stay on the paper, so I'm just going to push that down. And if any of them do kind of come up, like that little piece got out of place, if you have a safety pin or a stick pin, just use that to place it back where it belongs. That's the easiest way to move your little sticker pieces around if they come out of place. Okay, so the back is off and all of my little pieces are where they're supposed to be. So now you're going to lift up your stencil and you're going to lay it, lightly place it on your wood. And you're just going to eyeball it, what is center. So I just have lightly laid it down so it's not stuck yet, okay? So you still have time to drag it to center. Okay, so once you have it where you like it, you're going to start from the middle and just smooth it out. And this gets out the big bubbles and creases. Okay, so now you're going to come back to this credit card or my paint tray, whatever you're using. And you're going to start to rub the top of your design. And I'm going to try to see if you can tell. So as I'm rubbing here, it's turning a darker blue. And that tells me that it's stuck to the wood. So you want to do that over the entire thing. This is a really important step to do well, because this really adheres to the wood and makes sure that you don't have any bleed under. You can put some force into it too. So this part is what you're going to have to help your kiddos do, okay? They can do some rubbing on it, but you're going to want to get that stencil on there for them before they start to paint. Dealing with the sticker can be pretty frustrating sometimes, so we know with little kiddos that they're going to have a hard time with this part, so you're going to have to prepare it for them. Okay, so my stencil is stuck to the wood really well. So now we're going to peel off this really thin layer of contact paper that is on. And as you can see, I'm doing it slow. And I'm just going to roll it up as I go to kind of get it out of my way. And take your time. This is, stencil film is really thin, so it will tear, so try not to just rip it off. You want to take your time with these steps and do a little bit at a time. And I'm rolling as I go. And there's a little piece of flower that popped out. So I'm going to go back to my stick pin and pick it up with the pin and just put it right back where it goes, right there. Okay, so now you're left with your stencil adhered to your wood and ready to paint. So if your project requires it, like this project has a lot of small intricate pieces, so I'm going to put a layer of Mod Podge on it. If your project requires it, you will get a little container with Mod Podge in it for you to put on your project. So this step is really important too, because this is a clear bleed under step. So if you have any gaps, this Mod Podge is like Elmer's glue, it dries clear. So it will be your bleed under coat and it will seal the edges. So one thing you need to remember when you're doing the Mod Podge is that it needs to be a super thin coat, okay? If you're seeing any white streaks in the Mod Podge, you're putting it on too thick, okay? It needs to be clear. So that means super thin layer. So I'm going to try to do this fast here for you guys. By the time I get to the bottom, the top will already be dry. This stuff dries really fast. And make sure you wash or soak the brush that you're using right away, because it will harden pretty quickly and ruin your brush. I'm about halfway down here. It is hard to see on a white background, so to kind of keep track of where you've put your Mod Podge. If you are doing like a kid's one that has like just one big solid shape, you probably won't get Mod Podge in your kit. So you just need to rub the stencil down onto the wood really well before you let the kids have at it with the paint. Now your typical 3 or 4-year-old, they're just going to use a lot of paint. So if you can go behind them and kind of smooth out any big puddles of paint, that will be helpful, but you'll probably have to let theirs dry considerably before peeling off the vinyl because they're just going to glob the paint on. Okay, so I'm going to with cold air in my hair dryer, I'm going to dry this real quick so I can paint it. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so that is dry, so we're just going to go ahead and paint it. For the sake of this being simple, I'm just going to do black. It won't take that much paint. And I'm going to choose a medium-sized brush, and I'm just going to pick a direction and start painting thin coats. So you want to go very thin with your coats and then dry it with cool air in between. If you do super thick coats of paint, then you're going to have issues when you pull off your vinyl. Now I know I said the kiddos are going to do that, so if you can go behind them and smooth it out a little bit, that's great. If not, let it dry for a while before you pull it off. So I'm using black. It should only take 2 coats. This covers really well, black on white. And I'm going back and forth to make sure that I get paint right up to the edge of the stencil. But it's still going to be streaky. I'm only doing a thin coat, so it's going to take 2. So you don't have to be very neat. You can get as much paint on the blue stencil as you need. You just don't want to go off the blue stencil and onto your wood. There's so many cute things in our take-home kits. Like, there's so many I want to make. I just added some cute bathroom humor signs today, so if you're into bathroom humor, I'm gonna have to make some of those myself too. By the time the shop opens back up for classes, there will be all kinds of new stuff on the shelves, because I am gonna be super bored. Okay, so that is my first coat. So I am going to go ahead and dry this very quickly with a cool shot of air so I can do my second coat. So the reason you want to use the cool setting on your hair dryer if you have it is because the stencil itself has got glue adhesive. So if we warm it up with the hair dryer, it's going to have a tendency to bubble up and ripple, and your paint will go up underneath. So that's why you always want to use the cool setting. I probably say it 100 times in my class. You're probably sick and tired of hearing it, but that is one of the keys to being successful with these kits at home, is to follow these guidelines. So when you dry your first coat thoroughly, your second coat's going to cover way better. Otherwise, if it's wet paint on wet paint, you're just taking the paint off versus putting another coat on. So to make it the most of the paint that you're provided, make sure you dry between layers. It is easy to kind of lose the image once you're, especially if you're doing a dark color like this. So you may have to kind of tilt and see in the light where the lines are. It probably looks like a big hot mess right now of blob, because you can't even tell there's a bee anymore. So if you're interested in trying this at home, you can order online on the website, Splinters-N-Rust.com, and there is a tab that says Take and Make. And you can search by category or price. Got some $7 items for little ones on there. And then a lot of adult projects too, because I know you guys are going to need some entertainment as well. Okay, so I think we are good here. So I'm going to just take a minute to dry this so then we can peel it off. And if you're at home and you don't feel like doing the hairdryer, you can leave it and go take care of some chores or fold some laundry or watch a show and then come back and peel it off. That would be just fine too. You don't have to use a hairdryer. Doing this, I'm noticing like little spots here and there that I missed. So this gives you a chance to kind of see as it's drying if there's any spots you need to hit, because you definitely want to do it now before you pull off your stencil. So this one might take a few minutes to peel off, but when you peel off your stencil, you want to go kind of against the grain, okay? Because if you're pulling with the grain of the wood and there's any splinters, it could grab that splinter and pull your wood a little bit. So I'm just going to go against the grain as much as possible. And I've got a pair of scissors handy because since this is a big image, I may cut a little bit off as I go so I don't have a handful of sticky. So you'll notice that you'll have parts that stay behind that you're going to have to go back with your little stick pin and pop them out, weed them out. But I just thought this bee was the cutest, and I think he would look good with or without a frame. So if you're pulling and you notice that it's pulling your paint, you may be pulling a little bit too soon. You may have a little bit of paint that's not dried all the way through, and you might want to just stop and dry it a little bit longer before you continue. And then if you have a piece that's starting to come off with the stencil, try stopping and pulling from the other direction, or using your straight pin to kind of push it back down and kind of pull away from the opposite direction. That will help salvage it. Oh, see, I had a little paint on my finger and I got it on my sign. So if you have baby wipes handy, baby wipes are awesome because if the paint is still wet, I can get that off really easy. This happens pretty much on every project. So what I'll do is go back with a little white touch-up right there. So there's pretty much going to be touch-up with every project, especially, I mean, you're not going to care about your kids' ones, but if you're doing it for yourself, you definitely will want to take a little brush and touch up. So every project is going to have touch-up, so don't feel like you're a failure if you have areas that you need to touch up. It's just the nature of the product that we're using. Starting to see a bee. So I do have one little spot that is wanting to pull up. So I'm going to use my safety pin or straight pin here to break it away from the plastic and push it back down. Sometimes it's hard to see where the vinyl is and what you're supposed to pull out. This one has a lot of intricate parts, so it'll take a while to weed it. But I'm using my safety pin just to slightly go up underneath. I'm not gouging the wood, I'm going flat just to lift up underneath it. And then I'm grabbing it with my fingers to peel it off. This really is the most satisfying part of the whole project, is peeling it. It could be the most stressful, I think, and also the most satisfying. This little inside part's tricky because it has a lot of little cutouts. He's not perfect, but he's coming out cute. Okay, let's see. And you could do this, you know, I just did all black and white, but you could definitely do color as well for your flowers. And you know, I weeded out the outline. You could weed it the opposite way and fill in the centers. This one will be really cute with a stained brown frame on it. But those of you that are buying kits and venturing into this for the first time with vinyl, it's really important to read the directions and take it slow. Make sure that your layers are very dry in between. Thin paint, cool air, and patience. And once you get the technique down, it's, you know, you'll be fine, and you'll move on to more difficult projects. You'll feel more confident about more difficult projects. This one probably was a little intricate to do a quick tutorial, especially down here on the flowers. Wow, it's a lot of pieces to pull out. Sorry. But we are getting there slowly but surely. If you do gouge your wood, it's not a big deal. You just grab a little white touch-up paint and you can cover those up. They will disappear. If you haven't had a chance to stop by Hobby Lobby and get a brush kit, they have them for $5.99. You could use your 40% off coupon, and there's really every size brush that you could possibly need for any of the kits we're offering. But if you cannot get out of the house, I'm sure you can find it online as well and have it delivered to you. And then you will be ready to order your kit. Oh my gosh, almost done, almost done. Okay, there he is. So I have some tiny little spots that are gonna need touch up for sure. He's not perfect. Probably can't tell that from a distance, but he should turn out cute. So that's your basic tutorial on how to use the vinyl stencils if you order one of our kits. You can always come back to this as many times as you need to review the steps, but it's really important to follow them and take your time when doing this so that you have a good product in the end. So thanks everybody for watching, and I appreciate all the support from everyone that has been buying their at-home kits, and I hope you guys are having a great time making them. Thanks. Have a good day.